Indie housing market. Get the latest insights right here.
Welcome back to Indie Housing Market. I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker.
Hi, I'm Shelly Walters with Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker. Hey, wait a minute. First, before we say anything, congratulations.
Thank you.
Kyle last week on the Remy's won the Leadership Award for last year. So very proud of you on that because you are a huge leader in the industry. So congratulations.
It's weird. Also a big shout out to Ryan Foxworthy, who's on here a lot as a rising star, man. I think the world of him. I love him to death. And he deserves everything about that.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Renee and Mickey Peak got like cover story of the year, which was awesome. It was like a full sweep of those awards from Tucker Agents, which was kind of neat to see.
Congratulations to everybody who won. I was unfortunately out of town meeting my new grandson, but I was hoping to be there. But
it's weird,
I got to see a lot of the information.
It's weird to win those awards. It really is. It's not something I look to do. It's I don't know. I guess it's flattering. It's nice to know people think those things.
Well, you're a very
I don't think
humble
those things
person.
about myself. So. Yeah.
Because you do things because you want to, not because you want to get an award. That's not why you do what you do. And people have recognized you multiple times for the stuff you guys and your team. I know your team does a lot with you.
Yeah, we just, I don't know, just try to help people. And I guess if that makes you a leader, it makes you a leader. I mean, there's more to it than that, but I don't know. It was very nice. It was very, very nice.
I know you weren't expecting it.
I was not. It's one of those things where like, hey, you're up for this thing, and you're like, I don't even want to go to that. Mainly because like I don't like events like that, Not because like I
know
super
Jessica doesn't like to go either, right? Yeah, she's like, what, another one?
Yeah, because like people come up and talk to me, and then or I go talk to them, and then my wife will be with me, and like I'm just like really notorious for like I'll get like 10 minutes into a conversation, and then I'm like something else catches my eye, and I'm like, and let's go have a conversation over here. And I leave my wife in the conversation. Like, my wife is my out, and my wife is like just stuck talking to people she doesn't even know. And it's agents, and like no offense to all of us agents, but us agents are all kind of all the same. And like she's just like, okay, whatever.
Agents are fun though because I think we're all the same in regards to that. We can just talk to the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
That's our personality. Many of us.
My wife hates that. She was at the where was it? She was at St. Simon Festival like 2 weeks ago, and somebody like I wasn't there. My wife and my daughter were there. They went like just like I don't know, early evening or something. Like I think it was when we were really no, I think it was when I was out of town. I was in Colorado, and she's like somebody came up to her and was like, "Hey, you're Kyle's wife and daughter." And I was like, "Oh my God!"
They have now officially become Kyle's wife and daughter.
Yeah. Like, sorry about that. It was cool though.
You have no name. You're now Kyle's wife.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of neat. So, anyways, all right. I want to talk about some things. So, I even called our good buddy Josh about this because Josh Dimagani. Because like my struggle with the real estate industry is it's an echo chamber, right? And
it's a capsule in time at all given time, right?
It is. And agents are afraid to talk about things because they're afraid they'll like manifest this, or like if they say something, like they don't know how to discuss something without fear or projection or any of this other stuff.
Or even be able to discuss it, like, what are you thinking, and not feel like they're going to be judged. Like,
right,
what are you talking about?
Right. Even when I called Josh, I was like, hey, I got to talk to somebody about this that isn't going to assign any kind of emotional ownership to an opinion, and we can just like pick this apart. Because if I call an agent who's been doing it forever, they're just gonna try to spoon feed back what they have sold themselves for decades, right? As like their marching orders instead of like thinking about it objectively. Now, I super acknowledge.
I love the marching orders. It's exactly when you first start. You're literally. I love that you're given marching orders. This event happens. This is what you do. This event happens. This is what you do. And you know what? For a long time, I think you could do that.
It was like that. Yeah,
I don't think we can do that anymore. And so what I know you're going to talk about, because we kind of discussed this, is what do we do in certain situations now in today's market? And it used to be, this is what you did.
This is what you did.
But
right?
I don't think there is an answer anymore for anything.
Well, I think there is, but like I think you got to actually take time and look at it analyze it. I'm not trying to have broad strokes or stereotype agents as a whole. If you want me to do that, I can gladly do that. I don't want to right now, but there's plenty of agents I could have this conversation with. It was just like, hey, I was driving on my way from Panera. Like, I had talked to one of my team members, Jacob, about this yesterday. And then also I was just like, I knew you and I were going to talk about it. So I was like, I want to get one other person's input on this real quick. And then if I talk to a newer agent about it, they're going to, I don't want to project or gaslight fear, right? So, because that's not what I'm trying to do. So we talked last week about how market felt a little bit different. Is it because May was compressed? Is it because of holidays? Is it because of blah, 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 right? I did see a pickup in showings this weekend, but there's only so many levers you can pull in real estate, in my opinion, right? To help sell a house, market a house, right? And,
we talk about pull the levers to get it marketed and get it out there, but the buyer has to be there to receive it.
Correct. And so, I've got, price, location, condition. Those are my big things that I can always look at, right? And right now, days on market is kind of trickling back up, and not kind of, like it just right. Absolutely is.
And we've seen it for a good
3 weeks, 3 weeks, right? We've and it's really hard to kind of, we talked about it last week because it was about, it wasn't about days on market that I was concerned about, because we just have come in and out of that kind of over the past year, right? Amount of showings.
Yeah.
That not everybody gets to see that, right? Not everybody, like, you got to have more than one house on the market, to kind of see, like, hey, is it just this house? Is it not this house? Like, you got to have some stuff going on to kind of be able to see some trends here. And showings in general are down, and I don't mean like a little bit, a lot bit.
No, yeah, not. I mean,
and so go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's just so noticeable. I'm not saying went to a screeching halt, and we are not going to be talking about 100% of every single listing.
There's still houses that'll get like 20 and sell, but
we can see that the days on market and medians versus average, and we can see all of that. This still happens, but generally overall, it was like one day it was here and one day it was not. And nationally they're talking about it. Locally we're talking about it.
They are talking about it nationally, right?
Yeah.
Highest inventory since
2013, they said.
Yeah, something like that.
Some of them we would read every single different article, but some of them are just.
That's also national. That's not like kind of micro specific.
We're going to talk about the stats, which I pulled. The whole thing for May versus last week versus last month. All of the stats. Inventory is way up.
Yeah, which is what everybody's wanted, by the way.
Correct. We talked about this. We talked about this. Watch out. The inventory is going to go way up someday compared to what it has been.
But what we didn't anticipate was the buyers to go down
at the same time.
At the same time, right? And so the thought that I had is, does lowering your price actually matter right now? Right. So obviously there's the situations where you're overpriced, right? Like that happens. Like I get that. Like it can be, sometimes a seller wants it, and so the agent agrees to it. Sometimes the agent, has comps, but a comp falls off, or like thinks they can pull a stretch because of like updates. I'm not going to sit here and say like, people overprice.
Yeah,
I know that does happen, but like that's the rarity, not the norm. So I don't want to talk about rarities. But, we're looking at some of these numbers, and, I'm seeing price reductions of $10K, $20K, $30K, $40K,
yeah, depending
$50K.
on the price point, right?
Yeah.
To do what? To catch what? That's just it, That's
correct.
what we,
To catch who?
Like, what are we looking for? Because if you get to that, why did you pick the price when you first listed, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you think you were correct when you first listed, and now you're 3 to 4 weeks into it, what makes you think that is not the correct price anymore? Only because of showings? The comps are still the same.
Yeah.
Like, what makes you decide to do that?
Is
that going to be the answer?
Like, we've decided that lack of showings means lack of interest. And what I have been thinking about over the past 2 weeks is, I don't think it means lack of interest. I think it means lack of buyers. And so I'm adjusting to the wrong thing here, right? And so what we've also noticed over the past, I don't know, I want to say this has been going on for like 6 months, really. People won't just write lowball offers anymore.
Or a offer.
Yeah, that's
not
what I
even
mean.
lowball, like even 5,000 off.
Yeah, 20K low. They're like, this is where you're priced at. It's not negotiable. And
They
then
won't-
once you're on the market,
seller won't respond.
but sorry,
Right.
I just yanked my foot's wrapped in a cord. But we're trying to go cordless here, by the way. But so you won't get that offer until you've been on the market like 30 days, 45 days, and then all of a sudden, you start to get those offers. Like, I just think like in 2 weeks you can start throwing like, I don't know, let's throw you 15 under and see where we're at, like, and nobody's doing that kind of stuff. We've been doing it. I will say, I just did like 2 transactions and then another one with a contingency. And like when we went to look at this house in February and, we couldn't, excuse me, it was at a certain price and they didn't want it. It was a $40,000 price reduction. We went after it. We bought it contingent, blah, blah, blah. So that is one that was based off of price and affordability. I would also argue that is from 60 to 90 days ago. That is not like what I'm seeing right now. And so I just don't think it's the same situation. I think if you drop it 10,000, 15,000, 20, 30, whatever it is, I don't see showings increasing. Like, I literally am looking at houses and talking to other agents, and that price reduction does not produce showings.
Well, the only thing I could say is...
So what do you do?
Well, because I have listings as well, and the conversation is happening with my sellers on what should we do, what should we do. And the thing about changing that price point is, I get back to, again, when I set my prices, I'm very adamant that we're correct, right? I mean...
Yeah, put time into it. Yeah.
Unless I get feedback from 10 showings where they're all like, you're way overpriced, and I'm like, what did I do wrong? And let's adjust. But I'm not getting feedback in my showings because they're not saying, and in the showings I am having, I'm not getting that feedback. So adjusting by price to try to chase for a buyer that's not there is going to only hurt you in the long run, because at some point with days on market, you will start to get the lower price offers. So then you're going to get a lot less than what you should have.
And then if you drop that price, you've still got the days on markets to contend with, and you still may get a low offer on that.
That's what I'm saying. That days on market's going to hurt you with that. But so if I'm seeing that my price is correct, the only way I could say that changing the price is if we already think we're correct, and it's just the lack of showings, is the price can change when you change a price point that will mean a different buyer group.
Yeah, like if you're at 305 and you go to 299, something like that.
I think important if you
that
need
matters.
To.
Yeah,
we also look at desperation or need for selling. Do you want to lower the price to get to a different buyer group? But we always.
But that's a big number sometimes.
When we
the higher you go up in purchase price, the bigger that number is to change buyer groups.
I remember when I first started, and the conversation was, how much do you lower a price? And it was always dependent on, obviously, the price point you're in. So if you're at a $600,000 price point, $5,000, $10,000 isn't going to change you no matter what.
But if you're at 185, it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you need to look at that, what's going to make the difference. But if you already know that your price is correct, I think you're going to hurt your seller a little bit by lowering the price. You just need to wait for the buyer to come to you.
So then comes the argument of like, do you just drop it 100 or 1,000? I think you've talked about 100. 100 feels like patronizing, but I also get it because like you're just doing it to do it.
It throws it back in front of people when they have a search. Yeah. That used to be something that I did.
1,000 makes sense to me. I get 100. Like it could be $1 and it doesn't matter because it's. What's the effect? And the effect is it kind of renews it in the system, but the dollar amount
it depends on what
matter.
you're trying to do. But if you're just trying to get it back out in front of people, because once that listing is listed, it goes out once to everybody.
Yep.
It won't do it again.
No.
Unless they come out and start searching or go back and look at their search.
But unless you change something.
Yeah. So I change the front picture
something
or whatever.
Fundamental. I don't even think that does
I don't know either of that, but I do go in and make those kind of changes too. Keep freshening it. But until you do something like a price adjustment or something, that's when it'll come right back in front of the public. So there's ways to do it, but not these drastic $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 if you don't need to, if you were correct on your price. But here's you said something, I wrote a little note here. It's just like, when you're doing your comps and you've been on the market for 30 days, your comps have changed, and you do need to re-look at the comps. And one of the main things I do when I'm doing my listings, and I'm not saying I do anything correct, it's just one of the things I do, is I look at pendings when I'm doing my market analysis, and I call those agents, because in 30 days, probably that's going to be my new comp. And the way this market is going right now,
I get agents to do that. Like, hey, how many showings have you had? I get that.
People are starting to make those phone calls, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things I'm noticing. But what I'm saying is, if I see a couple of pendings in the neighborhood, now I've got like 4 solds and 2 pendings. Some of those solds are 5-6 months old. Those are, to me, those are
It's
old.
a different market.
Almost to me today, I'm looking 90 days out. I'm not looking even 6. Used to be back in the day, you'd look 12 months. Then remember, we would go no more than 6. I'm not going any more than 90 right now. But the most important
That's hard.
ones are pending.
That makes it very difficult to comp a house because I don't have much
Exactly.
inventory.
But your pending
moving
is your
to
number
comp off
one
of.
number right now.
Yeah.
And if you have an agent that will help you with that, those are the comps you need to look at, because in 30 days, like you said, all of a sudden prices of what happened in the past 30 days, and I'm looking at it, are different. We're not our prices aren't going down. We're not diving. We're not doing anything, but they're leveling off.
They are. And so here's Josh made a very good point. This is why I called him, because like he'll throw something out and be like, okay, well, what about this? The problem, so like I can educate my sellers on this. I was like, this is what we need to do. But not every seller is educated on this. Not every agent is educating on this as well, like educating others on this. And there's also this outlier of like desperation, right? So, the house we went after, they were moving to China, right? And like the wife was already in China. Like they needed to get out from the house. So that's why they had this massive price reduction. And if I'm selling, like if I have a listing in that neighborhood or against it, like what do I do when like my house is priced correctly and somebody else drops it 40, 50 G's, 20, like whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, because they are in a tight situation and we're not. And that now hurts us, or like they're competing against us. It makes it really, really hard. And I just think we need to educate our industry to a certain extent. And then, the whole idea of people getting out there saying like sold this rapidly and blah, blah, blah. Like that's just self-promotion for you to to call this for what it is and be 100% transparent. When you are putting it out there that I sold something really, really quickly, it is to self-promote so that you think I can sell quicker, so I get more business. That does not help my industry. That does not help my peers. That does not help, most importantly, my future clients, because I'm reflecting a market that doesn't actually exist.
In today's market, it doesn't. And the other thing, too, is if we're putting that out there, you're setting yourself up as that real estate agent.
Have some weird phone calls in a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you did that. You said you do that. You put out there 3 times in the past month that this is what you do, and why am I still sitting here? Do whatever you want, but yeah, it's very self-serving, and I know it was exciting in the everybody was doing it, and now I think it's starting to slow down because it is very very hard to explain in today's market.
It's one of those things. It makes me think of like Marvin Harrison,
Oh, not another movie correlation.
Wow, you were a Colts cheerleader and you don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whoa, dude.
I know who Marvin is.
We're yanking.
I thought you were going to go into some movie correlation again.
Dude, you lost so much street cred right
exactly
there.
who
Dude,
Marvin
they're not
is.
going to let you back in the building.
I have a picture with Marvin. Leave me alone.
Man, speaking of, God bless.
I'd say his number,
rest in
but
peace, Jim Irsay, man. Huge community icon here. But anyway, so Marvin Harrison, like when he would score a touchdown, he would just hand the football to the referee because it's like, act like you've been here before.
I never saw that. I don't remember that.
Just hand the football back to the ref after you caught a touchdown, man. Act like you've been here before.
No more dancing or anything.
Yeah, so and like same with like if you sell a house in a day, like act like you've freaking done it before because we've all done it. You know, like it's not about that. It's like what about the one like like the I don't know. It's like an 80-yard touchdown. It's like one play, blah blah blah. Well, like the ones that matter are the series that burn 10 minutes off the clock, and it's like 25 plays to get down the field, like that's what football really is. And so, I don't know. I mean, this is me, getting on a soapbox and everything, but it's really like a warning shot of like, dude, like look at the numbers, look at the stats, look at everything out there, and the market is pivoting. And if you're not paying attention to it, you're going to be stuck in some weird situation as an agent, as a seller, whatever here in the future. But if you're a buyer, like you got leverage, man.
Well,
it's a good time to be a buyer.
Talking about the changes too, and in all of this is what I'm starting to do is get the phone calls from agents. Like more agents are on you now after you've shown it. Like, what can we do to get an offer? And what you were saying is, if you are not a listing agent and seeing the showings are down, then as a buyer's agent, you probably are getting these phone calls, which should show you showings are down and show you that the market has shifted enough to cause some concern. So,
which even those phone calls don't generate offers, really. Yeah.
No, I mean, and it gets
what can I do to convince you to buy this house?
Correct.
They don't want the house. I don't know what to tell you.
Correct. Yeah. And that goes to the feedback.
Yeah.
If you don't get feedback, they're not interested, and that's a hard conversation for your sellers to understand why. So sellers or agents, just please give your feedback, even if they're not interested. Just say that, because you're going to be on the other end someday where your seller is really mad at you because the other agents are not providing feedback, and that's a whole nother industry issue. But if we get into what we're trying to deal with today's market, maybe some of you agents are into the situation where you've never really had to have these phone calls. And these phone calls, I said, I'll get PTSD now, because all of a sudden it's like, I used to carry 30, 40 listings at a time. That was not unusual because our days on market were so long and it just took a while to clear them, and we're listing heavy. But those conversations are starting to happen again, and they need to start happening again. You cannot just sit back and ignore the seller's concerns. So how do you handle those, and what do you do to provide to your seller information
of
why
honest
you're sitting
up front at the listing appointment?
Thank you.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. What to expect, right? Setting expectations.
Like weekly phone calls. Like, I mean, it is what it is. We do it, but is it even necessary? I could be bi-weekly right now.
Yeah, and it's not going to change from week to week, if not. But they want to know. You need to help them.
It's about client touch.
It is, and it's just to help them to understand. I put together as much as I can of the stats of what's happened. I wish we had showing stats. We say this all the time. But I just try to put together where we are, and we're going to talk about this. But right now, agents, just so you know, my board has some stats, which some graphs, and I'm just going to show this real quick. You can get these off of my board. And we're going to talk about these, but they're for every county, every township. If you have a seller in one of these counties or townships, it will tell you, like I'm looking at here, right? Hamilton County, the prior month. So we are looking from June. We're looking to May to see what the changes were. I'm looking at all 16 counties in Hamilton County.
For May of 2025.
Yes, for May of 2025, going backwards. So the median sale price, this is all on here, but this is something to give to your seller so that they know. We don't make these up. They're not handwritten. This is direct from the stats, and stats always tell the story. Median sale price, again, we're not saying this market's crashing or anything has happened. From the past month, the median sale price was up 5.5%. That does not mean we're constantly going way, way up, but it's just showing you we're not crashing. Then, prices aren't going lower.
I told you, like that number isn't enough information.
None of these are.
Increase in 5.5%. Because, when we talked about it, my very first thought was school is out, or we're getting into the spring market, and our bigger, more family-style homes going on the market. So higher price point houses are on the market, and that is why the median sales price has gone up, not because... it's a volume play to hit your average, right? So
we'll start here.
I don't know the answer to that. I was just like my first, kind of like devil's advocate.
Yeah, well, where does that number come from? But and then start here, get this, and then go back in and see. I'll just pull them all up then and try and figure out were there a bunch of 600s and no 200s. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But here's the main thing. So over the past 30 days, active inventory in Hamilton County is up 20.5%. When inventory goes up, then we have more days on market. The median days on market in Hamilton County is up 16.7% over last month. So that
was last month we're talking about even.
Yeah. So last 3 to 4 weeks, as we keep saying, we are 16.7% up in median days on market. Now, if we look at average days on market, it's higher than that. New listings are up 8.7%. So our inventory is higher. What does that do? Makes your seller sit. So if we go back to just Clay Township, because we do a lot of stuff in regards to certain cities. So in Clay Township, the over the past week of last year, we have 35.1% more new listings. So we're a third higher than just a year ago. over the past week, just this week to last week, we are up 66.7% in new listings. So this is what you need to be talking to your sellers about. It has nothing to do with their bad listing. If you prepared it correctly, you listed it correctly, we have an issue with just supply and demand right now.
You have more competition and less buyers.
Supply and demand.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And worst part, 2 years ago, it's what everybody wanted. Now it's all happening. And people are like, the sky's falling. You know, like,
we have been doing this show, I don't know, maybe, I think 3 years. We kind of lose track. But the whole thing is every time we talk about... I think we've been doing like 4 or 5. But every time we talk about this, every week we sit here, it's all about looking in the rearview mirror like, oh, just remember that day. Well, here's where we are moving forward and knowing what to do. But right now, I don't know how many agents are sitting out there, but, you know, the average agent has so many years in the business, may not have ever seen where you have to literally sit and talk to your seller on a weekly basis or at least every other week and help them understand why they're not getting an offer, why they're not getting showings. It might not be because of price. It might not be because of condition. It might not be because of location. It's just the market. So be ready to have that conversation and know what information you can provide to them to help yourself as the agent to not scare them into going, well, we just need to drop it $20,000 or $30,000, because we didn't do that. We didn't do price changes. If I look back to, 2013, 14 or whenever, price changes weren't really talked about for at least 30 days, because you just knew the days on market were, 3 to 6 months.
We live in a society now where, like, hey, I want to move. Sweet, I should be able to move. All right, let's sell this and let's go move. Like, it used to be a timeline, and now people are like, if I don't sell my house in 20 days, like, what am I doing? I'm like, well, we prepared him correctly for this.
Right.
This is the reality of it.
Right. Again, expectations set with the agent, and the agent to know that that's what they're into for this. It's price point, it's town, it's neighborhood, everything's different. Condos versus a regular. We were just looking at that.
So actually, townhomes are performing better than condos in Carmel in particular, right, in Hamilton County. And is it like because condos don't do well? No, because there's been a focus on building townhomes in Hamilton County, so the volume is higher because there's more of them than there is of actually condos these days in Hamilton County.
Well, and the other thing too is just to know that if you're doing a price point look, CMA over your seller is, don't compare your single family residence to condos. Take those out. Take out townhomes. Take out condos, because condos will pull them down, and they're different. If you're doing a condo listing, do not put single family residences in there. Yeah. Condos are their own beast. Townhomes are their own beast, especially in Westfield. Townhomes, resale townhomes versus new. Those are all totally different. Westfield numbers are really slowing way down. I did not pull out versus new build. But Westfield is too.
It's interesting. So I guess, like, we're sitting here talking about current market and everything like this, and like, I try to own everything that I've ever said on this show and blah blah blah. And so in December, we're like, hey, it's going to be a pretty intense spring market. But that spring market started way early. It started day after Valentine's Day. And it was multiple offers over list price, and like it also died quickly. Same as last year.
I was gonna say, if you look at last year, we're talking almost the same conversations, right?
Yep, we
Seems
are.
to be.
But here's the weird part about last year. Then third quarter was really busy disproportionately last year, and so like, I don't know if this changes. A lot of people took vacations last week. I don't know. Like, I kind of want to see where the next 2 weeks kind of play out to have a super strong opinion of like a projection, I guess, so to speak. But like, I got to tell you where the market is right now, and this is where the market is right now. But it could change over the next couple of weeks. There's kind of a lot at play right now, and like, it's hard to pull it all apart to say whether something is a trend or not, because you do have like economy on like a large scale, then you also have like inventory on a small scale, right? And like, then you have location, and then you have the calendar year and how things are playing out. So like, it's just really kind of hard to say like this is a long-term thing right now. Right. I can tell you it feels different currently because of down showings. So that's why we've been talking about it, is because like, it has felt different for you and I, because before we were getting showings and no offers, there's not showings. And that's what feels different.
Well, and trying to say, like we're projecting what's going to happen is we have no idea what's going to happen. And to continue this conversation, let's see where we are in 3 to 4 weeks to see if we're just kind of, again, we're not going into a bad situation. We're not going into a market where we're seeing like just doom and gloom. We're just seeing a changing market where it's steadying out. Prices are not going up exponentially, and offers aren't coming in 2 days with, over list. We're actually just seeing a change to more of a stable, closed, like closing down of out of controlness. I don't know how to say it other than now we're just kind of wondering when it's going to pick back up with showings. But just because we have lack of showings, again, what I was showing you is prices are not all of a sudden plummeting. We're not seeing all kinds of major issues. We're just seeing it slow down, maybe to just where we've needed to come since 2020. We've been through a lot in the past 5 years.
I think people, it's the best way to put this. I think people struggle to take our opinions like on a consumer level because they think I'm in a sales business. They think you're in a sales business. I'm in a customer service role, in my opinion. And so you think I'm trying to sell you because, if you think a certain way about the market, then you're going to be in the market. That's not what I'm here to do. Shelly and I are here to like educate you so that if you are in the market, or if you are getting in the market, or if you're deciding whether you should or should not, what the market looks like. Like, to me, this is no different. Like, if you're going to go sailing, you should know what the weather is. You know what I mean? And like,
Right,
I just
like
feel
that.
like that's what we're doing. Like, if you're going to get in the market, this is what the market's like. If you want to buy, great. If you want to sell, great. Like, there's always going to be those people. Reach out to us.
Well,
I don't care, but that's not what we're trying to do.
We're not going to do hunky-dory rosy glasses either. We're not going to say, oh, this is going to be an awesome ride. The thing about it, talking about with your sellers, you and I talk about this all the time. When we go to do a listing with somebody, we're 5 or 6 weeks out when we first start talking with them.
Yes.
From when we actually hit the market. At least 3. At least, to me, 3 is
my minimum.
My minimum.
Yeah.
But I am now dealing with listings that we started that conversation 7-8 weeks ago. That was a different expectation conversation that we had.
Versus what it is now.
Yeah, versus what it is now that we are on the market. So even if you're sitting and having that expectation conversation right now, the market is so ever-changing that even when you do that conversation, it could be wrong. Not wrong, needing to be tweaked in your conversation now, and hopefully sellers understand that we are not able to predict the future, so we're only going with the information we have on hand, and as it changes we need to continue to let them know it's changing.
So for years now, I think you do this too, I mean probably for at least the past 3 years, when I go to a listing appointment, I'll be like, this is ballpark where your house is. It is pointless for me to actually give you a hard number until the week we list.
And I do that.
Yep.
Here's your ballpark, and here's the number that today.
Because it can change that much. And I don't.
And
what do you mean by that much?
It
I mean,
has, yes.
5 to 10 G's. Depending on price point, because of comps and because of market conditions, and like it's just the real thing, And so, if somebody's like, "Hey, I think your house is worth this," and we'll list it in 6 months, like. That ain't the number.
No, and
That's
that
just
gets
not
back
the
to the
number.
pendings, like I was talking about the pendings. If we're talking 7 weeks ago, some of those pendings that we just talked about have probably closed. But what about the new pendings we didn't know about that just happened last week? Because we do want the freshest numbers as possible, and the pendings are the number. But everybody who's talked to their sellers, even just 3 weeks ago, the conversation was probably totally different than what it would be today.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So let me go back to just some
Go
of
to your
these.
numbers
So
real
I
quick.
just do, Boone County. So this would be including Zionsville, but this is all the townships in Boone County versus last month. The active inventory is up 23%. The new listings are up 16%, and that was over the month. So Zionsville included in that Boone County. That's all of Boone County. Marion County, I just wanted to throw out there as well, because that's all of Marion County. Their active inventory is up 21%. Their median days on market is up 30%. So Marion County is really starting to slow down with days on market. And then in Washington Township, just to show that, I pulled that out. The same week last year, it's 32% higher than last year in the new listings. And just last week, 16% higher.
You know what's crazy about that? I actually think interest rates are, from this time, everybody's talking about interest rates, right? Mm-hmm. And they were high last year. Like, we're like pretty close to the same interest rates, if not. I don't know. Like, we had that
They've
weird.
Been the same for so.
They did go up to like
so
7.5 once last year, but like we're like, you know, you said 6.8. I was like 7.1. You know, like because it's been
just
fluctuating.
Averages in there. You know, stays there.
And last year people were like, I'm not gonna move because interest rates are so high. But yeah, now this year we have way more people willing to move, even though interest rates are at the same place. You know, like it's all about the narrative.
I think people just give up and say, okay, it's time to move because nothing's going to change. But
Correct.
Getting back to the price changes, we never even really talked about this, is one of the things I think is instead of your price changes, start to figure out what potentially you might be able to offer, closing costs,
Yep.
stuff like that.
Two on buy down, whatever.
Yeah, so more things like that, if you're in the right price point, is what else could you help the buyer with to make your house stand out a little bit. I'll do, so Carmel, just if we really want to, even though above and beyond that, Carmel had 51 houses hit the market. 17 of those 51 pended. So as we've talked about this.
That's a lot.
17? 51 hit the market, but only 17 of those pended. Usually we're much closer to that. Only 33 total pended. So just a little bit over half from our actives. Many, many times, remember I said we lost inventory. We mm-hmm. gained inventory by almost 50%. So we're seeing that. But in the past 7 days, again, the average days on market was 22. Median was 7 in Carmel. Carmel's very strong market still. But if I go over to what's currently sitting on the market in Carmel active, there's 166. Here's our days on market that's coming up. The average days on market for Carmel right now of all homes sitting is 80, and the median's 28. So we're just getting ready to start to see this inventory clear. We're at 80 average days on market. In the past 30 days, 153 sold at 24 average days on market. So this last week and this past 30 days was 22, 24, but the actives are setting at 80.
Yep.
So that's just starting to show you that stale market is out there. Westfield, 57 hit the market. Only 10 of those pended and 23 total pended. So very low pendings for the actual amount that hit the market, but where we're seeing the change now. In Westfield, 45 average days on market for those pendings, 12 median. In the past 30 days, the average days on market for the solds was 25. So in the past 7 days, we doubled our days on market of the current pendings. There's currently in Westfield 256 on the market. Their average days on market sitting right now is 56 and the median 36. So again, there's showing what's coming up for sales. Zionsville 21 hit the market. Only 8 of those pended and then a total 10. So 50% pended total of the number we usually said. Like again, we're losing inventory. We gained inventory in every town by almost 50%. And then in the average solds, past 30 days, average days on market was 15 and 5, 7 and 4 for the past 7 days. But in the current actives in Zionsville, the average days on market is 74 and median is 41. So sellers, if you're listening, you're not the only one that's still sitting there for a little bit longer. And agents, if you have sellers sitting there for a little bit longer, it is what's happening.
Yep. It's interesting because I did the average days for actives as well. And we don't do those numbers very often. And we did it back in January, I think, also.
Kind of looking.
Yeah, and I can tell it's a buyer's market when I'm running averages of active instead of pending. You know?
Well, I mean, you just kind of want to see, is it just me? I'm always that way. Is it just me?
Yeah, because I got to have an answer.
Because I don't know where else to go. I could ask you, but you're only one more person. I could ask somebody else, you're only one more person. I have to see the market. Is it just me? It's not.
You know what's, hold on. It's weird. It would be a weird place to be right now if you're a flipper. You know,
we have one.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So if you're
in the middle of it, I should say.
So if you're going to buy one right now, you might actually be okay. But if you bought one 6 months ago, 3 months ago, Shelly, is that when we bought it? Like,
so we bought it a couple months ago, and I don't know. Go ahead and finish. I'll tell you what I'm seeing.
I mean, you're gonna have to price different. Your carrying costs are gonna be higher. And it's just and I can't tell you if this is going to get worse or better.
Correct. So you speed up the process, get in the market as soon as possible.
Which is also scary because then you like did we cut corners? And I'm not saying you guys did, but
I
like,
would never do that. But that's just the conversation is we need to speed up to get that out there, because I never know if this market's going to continue to slow down and or if we just need to hurry up. Because here's what I'm looking at. Already October, November, and December is in my head. Because to finish the house and get it on the market, if we're at 60 to 90 days, guess what month I'm getting ready to hit? September, October. And you always have to look forward, right?
Yeah.
But if you're talking about an investor who's looking at purchasing any of these houses, maybe because they're not selling for way off. They're still selling.
Yep.
But an investor now taking into consideration that is
carrying costs.
The carrying costs, the days on market, and the prices are leveling out. So yes, when we purchased a property 2 to 3 months ago, is the price we thought we were going to sell it at the same? I don't think so. And is the days on market that we were looking at the same? Absolutely not.
So what's my ROI all of a sudden? It's just interesting.
It goes back to literally what we talked about, I think, with Jeff, maybe was the tariffs.
Yeah.
All the it wasn't Justin with the talking about pulling out commercial, is they all had all these plans and did all their numbers, and then all of a sudden they see in front of them a totally different number they had to stop. No, we can't stop. We're going to change. We're changing course a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting. I just like thinking about all this stuff. It's just I don't know. I'm a nerd when it comes to this stuff. For me, Fishers was a little bit interesting. I mean, I have 41 go on the market. 27 are still active, so 14 pinned, but 42 did actually pin. So I actually lost one in inventory in Fishers, which was
Fishers
really cool. But their inventory is like kind of highest, in recent history. It's at 203.
Wow.
Average days on market is 23 and the median is 7. But back to your point, my average days on market for actives is 49 and 34. And that's the stuff that's going to start trickling up those numbers higher and higher and higher, right? In Noblesville, I had 37 go on the market, only 23 pinned, right? For the total, right? 31 are still active, so 6 pinned, 23 total pinned, right? So I picked up inventory there. I have 192 on the market. Noblesville's even crazier. Average days on market to pinned, 18 and 7. That's everything that's pinned. Average days on market active, 66 and 30. And so I don't know, man. Like, we'll see. It's hard because I want to be like, hey, by July 1st, I'll have an answer for you on what's going on. But like, that's a really convenient answer for me to tell you. It's like, oh, once I'm for sure certain on what the market is doing, I have an answer for you. That doesn't help you, right? What I'm really just trying to do is is educate you so you can be like, hey, it's a little wonky right now, and it's going to go one of two ways, right? Like, that's not rocket science. That's not something like super deep and profound. I just said, like, it goes one of two ways. But for the past couple of years, it's only gone one way. And so, I don't know, like, it's just something to be educated about. More importantly, for agents, man, like, you guys need to know what's going on right now, for sure.
Well, the reason we talk about this active number, if in Carmel, every home currently on the market today sold with the average days on market of 80, that means our new pending numbers for the sales would be 80 average days on market. If all of Westfield homes that are currently pending would be 56 average days on market, and if all of Zionsville's homes currently active, it would be 74 days on market. So that's where we're saying we are heading towards average days on market, 80, 56, 74. Way higher than we've seen. Because they're sitting there. They have to sell sooner or later. And unless we get a bunch of them in here that start selling in 2 and 4 days to bring that down, that's where we're heading.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense when the numbers are off and askew during the winter months. Like the better representation of like what's going on when we get into these seasons. And
It's June.
Yeah, man, this is a thing.
This is our June, July, and
June,
July, August numbers that we're possibly looking for. Again, I look back. This is not an unusual number for the 2012, 13, 14, 15s, but not for today.
And I think there's always going to be the people who are like, this is great. You know, housing prices are going to come down and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, potentially they could. If you want them to come down astronomically, like, you need to understand economics better as to, like, that means somebody who's selling is going to be making less money than when they go to buy something. It's going to be different. Then that gets into consumption of consumer goods. Like, that's a much bigger thing you're saying than just, like, the house that I kind of want is a little bit out of, like, what I can afford. And I get it, because everything is just stupid expensive right now. Like, I don't care if it's groceries, whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. It's been like that. I get it. But when prices start to come down rapidly or in large chunks, that doesn't exist in a vacuum.
No, correct. It affects
and that
everything.
happens everything.
And
that also means your employment.
Yeah. We're not seeing that, though, too.
We're
and
not
that's
seeing
what we're
that.
definitely not seeing.
I'm just talking about when people are like, this is what we wanted. I'm
there's no crash coming. Everybody might start saying, they're saying there's going to be a crash. Oh, the prices are dropping. Again, I said they're not. The prices are staying
They're actually
steady,
not. It's
going
weird,
up, not up. They're just staying. If you want to look at those numbers, they say they're going up, but in my opinion, that just means it's stable. We're not seeing even the multiple offers. I know we're gonna sign off here, but even the multiple offers that I was seeing January, February, March, it was 5,000, 10,000. It was not 120. I mean, I've seen those. It was nothing like that anymore. It's just a little competition.
It's a little competition. I don't know, but when we get here next week, it might be different. But I felt like it's been 3 weeks of this. I kind of, we saw price adjustments, and I started thinking, I don't know if price adjustments move the meter. So that's why I wanted to actually talk about it today. So,
right.
Anyways. I'm Kyle Morris with FC Tucker and Morris Property Group. My number is 317-649-5122.
I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker. My phone number is 317-201-2601. Thanks.
Pacers in 6.